Unethical. The word doesn't have the same sinister ring to it like illegal does with the involvement of police and law. So we tend to just ignore it whenever we come across the particular word. But the question arises, if I review a product from a brand which pays for my salary, does it count as an unbiased review? Well, that is for you to judge, because the way I see it, if I do not review the ProLab Design AI360 LC and LCD in my own channel, that's not going to be illegal or unethical for that matter. That's going to be injustice with the products I helped develop. So hi everyone, this is Neil and you're watching Tuk Tak Tech. Before deep diving into the benchmark results and plethora of data, let's just talk about what makes a liquid cooler a great liquid cooler. So we will be talking about 4 aspects here. 1, the pump, 2, the fans, 3, the radiator, and 4, some special features or good to haves. So first let's talk about pump. In pump, we always think about the bigger number, the biggest RPM, 5000 RPM of a pump, 4000 RPM of a pump, 3500 RPM of a pump. It doesn't work like that. See, basic job of a pump is to just circulate water without heating up the particular water. But if you spin a pump too high, it turns the fluid motion from laminar to turbulent, which actually reduces the fluid flow and introduces more heat due to fluid friction in the pump. So for ProLab Design AI360 LC and LCD, the pump that we have used is a 2700 RPM pump. It's a very efficient pump. Rather than boasting high RPM numbers, it provides you good water flow without adding extra heat or extra friction to the fluid inside the cooler. Next, let's talk about fans. Also, whenever we are buying fans, we usually look for the higher RPM. The RPM does matter for a certain point, but what matters most is the CFM and the static pressure. And particularly if you're looking for radiator fans, the static pressure is more important than the CFM or the total airflow of the fan. So why static pressure? Because the air have to be moved by the fans through the dense fin stack of the radiator. So high static pressure is very important. In the market, whatever liquid coolers we have, they have their static pressure ranging from somewhere between 2.2 to 3.5 to mostly 3.8, something like that. 4 and above is a rarity in these cases. Only few coolers in the market that have that kind of a high static pressure. But here our pumps have a 4.5 mm aqua of static pressure, which is far better than what the competitions offer. So now let's talk about radiator. The efficiency of radiator is measured in 2 ways. First, FPI or fins per inches, how many fins do we have in a square inch of area, and the thickness of the radiator. But you have to keep in mind, once the radiator is thicker than normal, you need a better static pressure fans to push air through it. Otherwise, even with a thicker radiator, the results will be lackluster. Now, we have not made the radiator thicker due to the compatibility issues that arise along with it. Our radiator is the standard 27 mm of thickness that you get with most liquid coolers, but what we have done differently is with the fins. So across brands, the standard FPI is 25, you get 25 or more in some cases. Our fin density or FPI is 30. And also our fins have a different structure. Let me explain it to you. So usually the fins are in this kind of a V shape. So this is the shape we get for the fins in standard radiator. What we have done is we have made the fins straighter. So they are not V shaped, they are kind of an I shaped. So it increases the area of fin stack that is touching with the copper pipe, which in turn increases heat dissipation. So if we talk about these 3 points now, the pump, the fans and the radiator, I would say we have a very efficient setup for cooling. That's why our coolers can handle a very high TDP of CPUs like Threadripper as well. Now let's talk about the good to haves. So some extra features. So here we should talk about the star of the show, AI360 LCD, which has a 4-inch 720 by 720 LCD screen, which is entirely customizable, and you can put it inside the case or outside the case, because we are providing both cables for internal USB header and Type A to Type C. But also The another thing that we have in the AI360 LCD is the VRM cooling fan, which is embedded within the pump block. So we have a 60 mm fan which is throwing around 50 cfm of air towards the VRM in that angle, keeping your VRMs cooler, which will result in better system stability and better clock speeds for your system. Also, that VRM cooler can pull double duty as a RAM cooler in case of Tier 5 systems where the RAMs are mounted in this way in the top and bottom of the processor. In the special feature segment, I'd also like to have the size of the cold plate that these coolers have. That is 3348 square millimeter, which is the biggest in a commercial segment of cooler. Until and unless you go for a cooler that is dedicated for the Threadripper or the Xeon platform, you do not get cold plate bigger than this. Now, if we talk about AI360 LC a little bit, it's a no-nonsense cooler. It doesn't have a bit of a RGB, it's entirely blacked out, black and chrome, nothing else. Two PWM connectors, one for the pump and one for the fans, because the fans are internally connected towards a clip system. So single PWM for 3 fans in the radiator, one for the pump. That's it. Very, very easy installation. But for the AI360 LCD, of course, it gets a little bit complicated. There is ARGB connection, but that is also daisy chain, so you get only one header from the fans, one from the pump, 2 headers. Also, you get a PWM connection for the radiator fan, the VRM cooling fan and the pump. So 3 PWMs, 2 ARGB headers and 1 USB for the screen. Now let's talk about the performance, and the performance graphs I'll just put up in the screen. So as you can see, the AI360 LC and LCD both are very capable liquid coolers. So the question arises, what's the catch? Well, there aren't any. AI360 LC and LCD are genuinely the most value for money cooler you can buy. They provide insane price to performance ratio. That's not what I'm saying, that's what the numbers are saying. But I may be wrong, or I may be biased, or this may be a paid review after all. We'll never know. Until and unless you can prove me wrong. So you can just go and buy the cooler, test it yourself and let me know, hey, your data is wrong or data is falsified. How about that? So here's another incentive for you if you do decide to buy this cooler before November the 30th. So pair this with the AI848 cabinet or any of our power supply and you can win up to 1500 rupees of Amazon vouchers. Yeah, I'll provide the links below. So no bar, like you can buy it from anywhere. You buy it from Amazon, you buy it from whatever your favorite retailer, you submit the bill, you will get the cashback. And it's a guaranteed cashback, it's not like it's a lucky draw and all. So, like I said, buy it before 30th November. Prove me wrong and you'll have a surprise gift from me as well.